So this is section A, also known as front of the vehicle. We're going to start from top to bottom with our marker lights up top, which are the proper color amber. They're not cracked, they're not broken, they're in good condition, and they're properly illuminated. Then we're going to move down to our fender mirrors. I want you to grab them. My fender mirrors are not cracked or broken, they're secured, all right? And they're properly mounted on both sides. All right, and we move back, and then we're gonna point to our hazard lights, which are the proper color amber, and they are properly illuminated on both sides. Then, as we move in, we have our headlights. They are both properly illuminated, clear, not cracked or broken, good condition, right? Also, we have our license plate. It's visible, it's secure, not cracked or broken, and it matches the paperwork inside the end cap. Then under the tractor, I see nothing leaking, no puddles, nothing hanging, and my tractor's not leaning from one side or the other. If it were, that means it's a bad suspension or a slow tire leak. All right, before we're done, just want to check to make sure we covered all our things, everything we need to cover, and now we're going to proceed to open up the hood. So you can start on either side. All you got to do is lift up the latch. Yep, that's good. And then we're going to do the other side. All right, yep, nice and slow. Normally we would lift it up from the front, but okay. All right, now, so we're going to start first with our coolant reservoir. There we go. Coolant reservoir is not cracked or broken, it's not leaking, it is secure, and it's in good condition. What it does is store our coolant to help keep the engine cool. If it were low, I will wait till it's cool to the touch, open the cap, get the proper fluid and make sure it's at the proper level. Then I would check the hoses to make sure they're in good condition with no signs of leaking and that they're properly clamped. Make sure that the wires are not ripped, torn, or corroded. From the coolant reservoir, we're going to follow one of the hoses to our water pump, which is belt driven. So I want you to touch that belt right there in the front. Belt right there. Belt. There we go. That belt cannot have any more than 3/4 of an inch of play. It's in good condition. It's not ripped, torn, or damaged. And our water pump simply pumps coolant and water to the radiator to keep the engine cool. The hoses are not ripped, torn, or damaged, or leaking. And they're also in good condition, all right? From the water pump, that's it. So we just want to do a general overview to make sure we didn't miss anything. All right, give yourself some time. Nothing leaking. Our hoses are in good condition, so we like to end. I see nothing leaking, hanging, or smoking. We'll proceed to the other side. All right, over here, we're going to start with our alternator, which is right here in front of you, and it's belt driven. So touch that belt.
Okay.
Yes, sir, touch that. All right, the belt cannot have any more than 3/4 of an inch of play. If I didn't mention on the other side, anything belt driven, we touch the belt, make sure to mention that it has no more than 3/4 of an inch of play, which it does not. It is secure, it's not damaged, in good condition. And my alternator provides electrical charge for my electricals and my battery, right? It is securely mounted. I see no wires or anything ripped or torn. It seems to be in good condition. Now for my alternator, we're gonna go to our power steering reservoir. Power steering reservoir is not cracked or broken. It is securely mounted and it stores power steering fluid that helps our steering wheel turn, right? If it were low, I would open the cap, get the proper fluid and make sure it's at the proper level. Then I would check the hoses to make sure they're not ripped, torn, cut, or leaking and they're in good condition. From there, that hose will lead us to the power steering pump, which we cannot see. So we're just pointing in that direction. As you can see, the hose goes to the back, all right? It's right there. So our water pump is gear driven. Our power steering pump is gear driven. Again, power steering reservoir leads us to the power steering pump, which is gear driven. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. It's in good condition. What does it do? It pumps power steering fluid that helps turn my steering wheel. There's no signs of leaking. It's good condition. Also back there, we have our air compressor, which is gear driven. Can't really see it, but remember, after the power steering pump, I'm going to go to the other gear driven item, which is the air compressor. What does it do? It compresses air to the air tanks for my brakes. It's not cracked or broken, no signs of leaking, no missing hardware. Hoses and pipes seem to be in good condition. And from there, we're going to go to our oil dipstick and oil filter. I want you to point and touch to it. All right, that's the dipstick, and then we have the fill tube above it. All right, and they're not cracked or broken. They are secure and good condition, and they help me check and add oil if and when needed by pulling out, by pulling out the dipstick, wiping it clean, reinserting the dipstick, and then pulling it back out to check the level of oil. If it were low, I would open the cap, use a funnel, and add the proper amount of oil needed. From there, we're going to go under it to the steering shaft, which is not cracked or broken or illegally welded. It has no more than 10 degrees of play, and normally you would grab it to make sure you have some gloves or do that. From there, we're going to go to our U-joints, which are properly greased. Come closer so you can see it. U-joints, properly greased, not cracked, broken, or illegally welded. Then we have our gearbox, which is not cracked, broken, or leaking. It is secure. It's in good condition. No missing hardware, no signs of damage. From the gearbox, we're going to go to our 4-piece steering linkage. The 4-piece steering linkage consists of pitman arm, drag link, steering knuckle, and tie rod. All 4 pieces are secure with the caster nut and cotter pin. They are properly greased when needed, no illegal welds, and they're in good condition. Now from the 4-piece steering linkage, we're going to go to the frame. The frame cannot be illegally welded, cannot have any holes, so the holes that you do see are manufactured only, and there is no missing hardware, which are nuts and bolts, which are secured tight. After the frame, spring hanger. Spring hanger is not cracked or broken, no illegal welds. It's secure, no missing hardware. All right. From the spring hanger, we're going to go to the leaf springs. Leaf springs, no more than 25% damage, no illegal welds. It's not scissored or missing. They are actually secured to the axle with 2 U-bolts, 4 nuts underneath, saddle, and bump stop. And they're all in good conditions. They're right there. All right, not cracked or broken. All right. Then we have our shock absorber to the right. Shock absorber is not cracked or broken or leaking. It is in good condition. It is secure. No signs of leaking, no missing hardware. To the right of my shock absorber, we have the ABS line and air line. Right? ABS and air line is not ripped or torn or cut. As you can see, they are properly clamped. There's no signs of any damage. No illegal tape, no signs of leaking, and as like I said, these are properly clamped together, and they lead to the brake chamber, which is also properly clamped, not cracked or broken, secure, good condition, no signs of leaking, no missing hardware. From there, we have our slack adjusting push rod, which is secure with the pin and cotter pin. They're not cracked or broken, they're in good condition. And I would check my slack adjuster by chalking the wheels, releasing the brakes, and making sure I had no more than 1 inch of play. Then we're going to go inside to the brake drum and brake shoe, correct? Staying there. Brake drum and brake shoe are both free and clear from any oil, grease, and debris. They're in good condition. The brake drum must be round, which it is, and the brake shoe is no more than 25% damage. Also inside we have our rim. It's not illegally welded, not cracked or broken, properly seated and beaded to the tire. Inner walls are not excessively worn, no rips, tears, or abrasions. Top of my tire is called the stair tire, or this whole tire is stair tire. Both tires must match, or both stair tires must match, be the same type, no less than 432 of thread, and I will use a tire thread gauge to make sure it's even in 3 different spots. That can't be recapped or regrooved. Outer walls, good condition. Then we're going to go straight to the valve stem. If you miss the valve stem, you get no points for the tire. So the valve stem is visible. It's not cracked. It's not broken. It's not leaking. It's capped. And I would use my valve stem to make sure that the air pressure in my tire is between 100 to 110 psi. All right. And I would check it when the tire is cool. My rim is not cracked or broken or illegally welded. It's properly seated and beaded. And no signs of leaking. Next, we have our lug nuts, not cracked or broken. I see no rust streaks or shiny metal, which means it needs to be tightened. And they're all in good condition. Hub seal is also in good condition, not cracked or broken, not leaking, no missing hardware. Now, as a general overview, we're going to go over everything again to make sure we don't see anything leaking, hanging, or smoking. Also, we didn't miss anything with the order that we just did. We shouldn't have. And if the inspector doesn't say anything, by you going over everything, we're going to move to the fifth wheel coupling system. All right, fifth wheel coupling system starts with the air lines and the electrical lines. Electrical air lines that are secured to the tractor. As you can see, they're properly suspended. They're not ripped, torn, cut, cracked, damaged, legally taped, or leaking. They're not dragging on the catwalk, which is free and clear. Point to everything so you can see. They're not dragging on the catwalk, which is free and clear of any oil, grease, and debris. It's in good condition, no illegal welds. Now, my airlines. Red is for emergency. All right, come close. Blue for service. Both airlines are secured to the glad hands. So, my airlines secured to the glad hands, which are on this side. All right? And my glad hands are not cracked or broken. They're in good condition, no illegal welds. Now, if we wanted to check our airlines, we would release them from the glad hands, and we would see a rubber grommet, which should not be ripped or torn or cut. It should be in good condition. Then we'll reattach both airlines to the glad hands and listen out for any leaking. After that, we can check our green line, which is the electrical, by unlatching it, making sure that the 7 pins are not cracked, broken, bent, or missing, and 7 receivers are free from debris. Continuing on with the fifth wheel, you can put your camera here and up. All right, so up is the apron. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. Stay right here. No illegal welds. The holes that you see are manufactured only. All right. Don't forget to mention this is a non-sliding fifth wheel. All right. After you mention that it's a non-sliding fifth wheel, we'll continue to the skid plate. The skid plate is properly greased, and there's no daylight between the apron and the skid plate. It's not cracked or broken. To the left of the skid plate, we're looking at the fifth wheel release handle. Right now, it's in a lock position. That tells us that the lock jaws are locked around the kingpin, which we're going to check and inspect in a minute. Back to the skid plate, which is securely bolted to the platform. The platform is not cracked, bent, or broken, no illegal welds. No holes, no missing hardware. The platform is secured and bolted to the frame. The frame, no illegal welds, no holes are permitted. All nuts and bolts are secure and tight. So as you can see, we went from top to bottom. Now we're going to finish the fifth wheel by going under the trailer. Go all the way under the trailer. Go all the way under the trailer in between the skid plate. All right. Then in between, we are going to be looking in between the skid plate, and you will see the lock jaws are properly greased, not cracked or broken, but locked. So go in between. Right here. The lock jaws are properly greased, not cracked or broken, but locked and secured around the kingpin, which is also properly greased, not cracked or broken, but secured. The lock jaws are properly locked and secured around the kingpin, and the kingpin is secured to the apron of the trailer. As a general overview, I see nothing leaking, hanging, or smoking.